and board staff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tampa Bay Politics. So happy you joined us. I'm Angela Birdsong, your host. During the week, I'm affectionately known as the Medicare lady and life insurance lady, but I love doing this just to let you all know what's going on in politics in Tampa Bay. And we are so happy in the studio to have with us the president of the Democratic Black Caucus. And we actually get two for the price of one because she is also the first vice president of the state level Democratic Black Caucus of Florida. Thank you, Jordan Fry.
All right. Thank you for a good introduction, Angela. Good morning, everyone. Super excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? We always start off with, where were you born?
All right. That's pretty easy. I'm actually a Florida native, originally from Daytona Beach, Florida. Volusia County is in the house.
Okay.
I made my way to Tampa Bay to attend college at the University of South Florida. I was able to obtain my bachelor's in political science back in 2016, and I decided to remain here in Tampa.
And I accidentally came to your graduation party.
You did. That was funny. But hey, celebration.
All right. So ever since you graduated, what have you been up to?
Yeah. So honestly, even before I graduated, I've been involved in politics. I've been particularly in the electioneering side of politics, so campaigns. And even as a campus student at University of South Florida, I organized on campus for a couple different issue-based organizations looking to either get a particular issue out or a particular candidate message out. So got my rankings there very young before I could vote myself. I actually was the Get Out to Vote coordinator for Obama for America back in 2012.
You were Obama girl.
I was. So that's where I started. I was inspired by him. Obviously, him looking like me, the first black man to obtain the highest office here in the United States of America was huge for me.
Well, you know what? It was amazing how he mobilized young people.
Yeah. Incredible.
We need that same kind of feeling and power and fervor on the ground that he was able to inspire.
I actually think he kind of set the tone a little bit for grassroots in his campaign with the neighborhood team leaders, right? And I really do feel as though that's something we got to get back to and staying in these communities frequent and often.
I like it. Mm-hmm. So what was your first job outside of college?
Yeah, outside of college, coming out the gate, I did work for the Florida Democratic Party. I was a community engagement specialist for my region. So we were involved in a few different races that we brought some special advocacy to. And one of those was actually over in St. Petersburg. Mayor Kreisman, former Mayor Kreisman, it's his re-election bid, and we did some work for him, and we were successful there. And then I went on to Sarasota and did some work for Margaret Good. She was running for House District 72. We're able to flip that seat, turn that seat blue. So yeah, we're able to do some good work while I was involved in the party.
Okay, and then after you left the party, what did you do then?
I went on to work for Next Generation America. So for those who might not know Next Generation America, it's a nonprofit organization that was geared towards engaging youth from 18 to 35 specifically. So we're only organizing on college campuses. We're
awesome.
at 40 different campuses here in the state of Florida. So a pretty good range.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Now, after you left Next Gen, then what was your next step? We're going to take it step by step here.
I like it.
Each step is very important, too. So
I like it. I'm trying not to talk too much, so I appreciate it. But no, after Next Gen America, I did some data work with them, got heavily involved in data. A lot of reasoning because I just feel as though data is so valuable. It gives you history. It gives you knowledge. It tells you what you can do in the future, right? And I'll be honest as well that space didn't have a lot of folks that looked like us, Angela.
Yes.
Particularly Black folks, but especially Black women in the data space. So I was the only data director, the only Black woman of 14 states across the country involved in our data department. So we're super proud of that. Coming out of that.
Well, you know what? Can you explain to the people exactly what kind of data you were collecting, what you were doing?
Absolutely. So on campaigns, you typically have a database which manage the stream of voters, right, within your particular district, your county, or wherever you're running, right? So I managed our database for the state. So everyone that was involved on those individual college campuses, getting people registered, ensuring that they were registered to vote by mail or whatever it was, I was the houser and ensured that all the data stayed clean and organized in our database for the state.
Well, that's a very important mission there, because a lot of the college students do vote, and they vote by mail.
That's right.
So you want those mail-in voters to come in, no matter where in the state they're voting.
That's right. And I think one of the biggest messages that we're trying to push to young voters is that, you know, you can choose, of course, whatever party you want to be involved in, but understanding the parameters that are in place in Florida as far as a closed primary goes, right? So that means, unfortunately, your voice will not be heard in a closed primary. You have to wait to the general election. And I just feel as though it's so important for individuals to feel like they have a bet in this, right? And they have a horse in this race, and actually having the ability to make that decision for themselves and not just waiting to see who the last two candidates are in the election.
You know what, just to let people know, I moved from a closed primary state, and now I live in a closed primary state, which means if you are not a registered Democrat or you are not a registered Republican, you can't vote on a lot of important primaries. And we lose a lot of good candidates in the primary. I mean, they can't even get to the general if they don't have your vote.
So true. So true.
Yeah, so this is a very, very important issue that you're bringing up. Okay, so then where are we now?
So after NextGen, I think I know where we are. After NextGen, actually took over a consulting firm called Parsons Wilson. I'm co-owner with my business partner. It's been around since 1981.
Okay.
So the old owners wanted to find some younger owners to take over, just because politics has changed immensely as far as the type of campaigning you have to do. Especially following the pandemic, right? We saw we had to get pretty creative with the styles and the way that we're engaging voters. And I think that's what they were looking for, people that would find those avenues that will hopefully engage voters and still get folks out to vote.
All right, so first tell us a little bit about your partner.
Yes, Erin Wiley. She's incredible. A lot of you probably know her, to be honest. She's super involved, especially with any of the marches that are held here
like
in
the
Hillsborough
Women's
County.
March, you mean?
That's correct.
Okay.
The Women's March, even the Black Lives Matter protests that happen here locally in Tampa Bay. She works directly with the organizer and in helping organize folks. She actually also, interestingly enough, is the point person for the White House as well when they come into the state of Florida to help organize for those events.
That's huge.
Yeah, so we have a lot of fun.
Get to know her. You could get an invitation.
That's right. That's right. I definitely take my invitation. Oh, for sure. But no, because she's incredible. Erin Wiley.
Erin Wiley.
You know what? That is our CEO, Daryl Johnson, and I believe he has a connection to Erin. They were neighbors.
Yes, no, she knows Daryl and Tammy very well. She loves them both. But no, she's an incredible partner. So lucky to be in this business with her, especially as two minority women. You don't really see that a lot in consulting firms, especially
now,
owners.
what's her minority? She's Hispanic?
Yep, she's Hispanic. She's Cuban.
Okay.
Yep, so super proud to be one of the very few female-led, most importantly, owned consulting firms here in the state of Florida.
And you all have had a few success stories,
Yes,
right? Didn't
yep.
you have a judgeship that you were able to win?
Super proud to elect Nancy Jacobs to judge. That was a huge win. We've also done a few races around the Bay Area in general. Caprice Edmond over in Pinellas County, the only minority on the school board. So that was a super important seat to maintain. And we've done some other work here locally for some other candidates. Louis Vieira, our councilman currently over in District 7. So yeah, we stayed busy.
Okay, all right. It's busy and successful.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That matters. So there's there's something else you've been up to. You're the president of the Democratic Black Caucus.
That's right. That's right. Yep. So super proud to be president of the Black Caucus. I'm actually closing out my term. It's a little touching a little bit, to be honest, because the Black Caucus is where I started in the community of Tampa.
Okay.
Robin Lockett, which I'm sure many of you all know, she was the former president of the Black Caucus, and I actually remember her coming to USF to come recruit some young folks.
And you were one of them.
And I was one of them.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, I can be a part of this as a college student? And I think that's so important, honestly, to ensure that young people know that you can be a part of these organizations. And if you don't have the funds for it, there are scholarships that you can take advantage of and such. So get involved. This community, what's happening in this community absolutely affects you as a college student. So I would urge any college student to get involved because these politics are going to matter to you over the next few years.
Absolutely, because a lot of college students can't even afford a place to live.
We can talk about that, okay? I'm telling you, grown people can't afford. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm struggling coming out, out of the gate, being a young adult, owning my own business, and trying to afford rent. It's not easy.
It's not easy. Just want to let you know the CDC of Tampa is building some housing, and they have down payment assistance money. So
Correct.
You should contact a lady named Denise Pate over there.
Yep, Denise is incredible.
Yes. CDC of Tampa.
Yep.
We want to get as many people into home ownership as possible, and a lot of what stops people is that down payment.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're taking that off the table for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
In the city of Tampa.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Let our members know.
Yes. So you also have another position with the state of Florida. All right. So tell us about the mission of the Black Caucus and what you're doing in both capacities.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say in general, the goal of the Black Caucus is to engage, educate, and motivate Black voters to get out and vote. Locally, of course, we do that here in Hillsborough, but on the state level, we're in charge of the 1.5 million African Americans that are here in the state of Florida. And we take that very
number again.
Seriously.
1.5 million.
Right.
You know what?
Just
that can
under.
flip races.
I'm telling you, there's power in numbers.
That's like 20% of the vote.
I'm telling you, and I just wish folks understood the power, right? And the point that I made at our last State of the Union was no one's coming to save us. No one. We got to save ourselves. So that means ensuring we're holding folks accountable, but ensuring that's ongoing, most importantly. And we're engaging in every election, not just presidentials.
That's right.
Not just midterms, but every single level.
We're about to talk about the runoffs that happened last night and these off-year elections that matter so much. That's when we elect people like our crazy governor.
I'm telling you. And coming off of that race, actually, last year, being involved in that gubernatorial race.
And who were you helping?
I was helping Charlie Crist. I was his deputy political director for that campaign. And while we were not successful, definitely proud of what we're able to do as a campaign and not letting Ron DeSantis's unjust actions go unanswered. I think that's so important for folks to be challenged because at the end of the day, this position is for the people. It's not for you. And I think politicians sometimes forget that.
Yeah, well, we know that Ron DeSantis is going to be running for president.
That's correct.
Even though Disney kicked his ass, and that was very embarrassing. So we'll see what he decides to do.
How do you get in a fight with Mickey Mouse? Come on. But no, I think he's starting to see some of the repercussions of his actions.
All right, so when we come back, we're going to talk about the runoff, so don't go anywhere.
All right.
it's Angela Birdsong, and I want to recommend highly that if you're an attorney, that you get a quote for errors and omissions insurance from Sam Cohen at Attorneys First. He's had over 20 years of experience, and he knows how to work with attorneys. Call him at 727-799-4321.
Jazz at Miss Connie's House is brought to you by Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rhodes at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home, for the finest care and quality service.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
Hello and welcome back to Tampa Bay Politics. We are in the house today. I'm your host, Angela Birdsong, and we have Jordan Pride. She is the president of the Democratic Caucus of Hillsborough County, Florida, and the first vice president of the Democratic Caucus of Florida.
Yes, super excited to be here.
Okay, so we had some runoff elections for the city of Tampa last night. Just so you know, there were a lot of people who, we only had like 7% of the voters, registered voters, that actually showed up for the runoff, and only about 20% who showed up for the actual first election. And we really didn't have a mayoral election. We pretty much knew that Jane Castor was going to be in. But if you do not get 50% of the vote, you automatically go on to a runoff. So we had some candidates last night who were successful. Should we talk about the hot one first?
Where do you want to start?
Lynn Hertak versus Janet Cruz, the mayor's mother-in-law. You know, people didn't like that much.
Yeah, no.
It didn't go over well.
It didn't. And I think the percentage showed that, if I'm being honest, coming off of the first election with it being, within striking distance of each other. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Cruz did come on top of that. But in this particular race,
no.
Hertak still was on top.
Hertak was on top, and then Janet.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And then in this race, though, to come out 20%, that's insane. That's an insane spread to obtain within just a few weeks. And I think there's a lot having to do with that conflict. If I'm being honest, it is a conflict of interest.
You know what? It says nepotism, kind of slaps you in the face. And, I love Janet Cruz. I really do. I've supported her throughout the years. So I was shocked that she agreed to do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know, obviously, coming off of the brutal election last year and us being slaughtered by Republicans, I could understand her looking for another seat in another office. But I don't think that was the one.
I don't think that was the one. I don't know if she's going to now go on to county commission, but we have a sitting city councilwoman, Lynn Hertak, who was able to retain her seat. And we're really, really happy about that.
Very happy
because
about
there was PAC money against her. There was some trash in the mailbox.
Telling you. Yeah, so, I mean, we saw the money that she raised. There was PCs from out of the state hitting her with attack ads, attack mailers, and such. And I know, one thing that I really respected about her, a type of campaign she ran above ground, it was so much that she could say, right, in relation to her opponent. But she kept it about the work that she did in her short time that she had on council. And I think that's what really delivered to the voters and made away with the voters, for sure.
Well, you know what is an amazing thing? Lynn Hertak came on the city council because Councilman Dingfelder got into the crosshairs of a developer. And he went down over that.
He did.
He did, because the mayor wasn't going. The mayor and the city council did not support him financially.
That's correct.
And he and his wife said, "We can't afford these legal fees. We're out."
Yep.
Okay, so they had to vote on a replacement, and a lot of people on the board, on the city council, did know Lynn Hertag. Because I think she was the president of the Seminole Heights Neighborhood Association, and she sat on some other boards, so they knew Lynn. And the mayor's choice was, I think, an attorney.
Yep.
Yeah, so the mayor's choice did not win the votes.
No, it did not. And
we got Lynn.
That's right. We got Lynn. I think we really got lucky with Lynn. Just like I said, in the short time that she's had, she's really been able to push the needle on some really important issues, and most importantly, talk about some issues that aren't being talked about on council. So I was really excited to see her, but seeing a woman on council finally, right? And now we have two.
That was right, because at the time she got on the board, there was no women.
No women.
Black or white.
That's right. That's right. And now we have two, so that's incredible.
That's right. So Lynn Hertag, in her 9 months of being on city council, went to bat for the people.
That's right. That's right.
And got the love of the people. And people really felt that she had a heart for them. She was willing to speak up for them. She was all for, she was against toilet to tap.
That's right.
Okay, so I know the mayor was not happy with that.
No. And it seems like a lot of residents of Hillsborough County aren't for a toilet to tap. But
water.
What do I know with the 20% spread, right? But no, I think it's important that you listen to your constituents when it comes to some of these issues. And I just don't feel as though the city is. I think we're missing the mark, if I'm being honest, on that issue, the toilet to tap.
Okay, well, the mayor is all for it. So she now has two votes that are not going to be with her. I know that Carlson will not be with her. He had a tough reelection because they did throw up the McDonald's man against him, who's a millionaire. Blake Casper, who's a millionaire or billionaire, but he beat him back. And she's not going to have the vote of Lynn Hertag.
That's correct.
So we'll see what's going to happen.
We'll see what happens. I just hope that everyone represents the districts that elected them to that office.
Yeah, she is citywide.
That's right.
Yes, she's right. Carlson is South Tampa.
So districts 1 through 3, just for everyone, I know you mentioned that earlier. Districts 1 through 3 is a citywide races. So if you live anywhere in the city of Tampa, these 3 folks represent you. Now, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are individual single member districts. 4 being South Tampa, 5 being East Tampa, 6 being West Tampa, and 7 being New Tampa.
Okay, and we know that Goods was out in the last election. We're still hurt by that. So we do have Gwen Henderson in that seat, and we are expecting her to be a check mark for the mayor.
Yeah, I'm hoping, that we see something different. Of all the districts, District 5 needs the most representation, but strong representation that actually reflects the district. So I really hope that she comes into the seat and understands what her true role is in swearing into office.
And that was a kind of dicey race because her sister sued this Goods, brought a sexual harassment suit against Goods, and then during the election there was a lot of PAC money against him in the mailbox.
Correct.
So, which we believe that the mayor and her friends were trying to get Goods out of there to get rid of that vote. So.
She had her hand in quite a few pots, to be honest, even with Blake Casper endorsing him.
The mayor.
Correct, Jane. Mayor Casper, endorsing Blake Casper in his seat. So she had her hands in a lot of pots, and I just feel as though, as a mayor, you have to be careful with that, right? You're elected to this position. These individuals are elected to this position, and I think you have to respect the will of the voters in that aspect and who they want to see in that seat.
Absolutely. And you know what? The people are smart. They look at who is running. They look at their affiliations.
That's right.
And and the people spoke last night. They did and said, you know what? We want Lynn Hertag. They also we also had 2 African American women running. They actually got to the runoff. That was a first.
Yes, and I will especially plug them because they're both caucus members. Sonja is our treasurer.
That would be Sonja Brookins.
That's right, Dr. Sonja Brookins. Excuse me, let me put some respect on her name. Dr. Sonja Brookins is my treasurer, and Robin was the former president of the Black Caucus. So both of which were endorsed by the caucus, and we're so excited to support them. But of course, was disappointed to see their loss on yesterday. But they're just getting started, from my understanding. So we'll see what's
right.
next.
Well, a lot of people do know Robin Lockett because of her work with Florida Rising. So she's been a big political activist in the area. She's been very vocal on affordable housing, rent reduction, trying to get people to stay in housing.
And one of the biggest advocates going to city council, holding city council accountable. So I really enjoyed seeing her run. I just don't want it to be her last one.
Okay. Because we know that Gwen Henderson has never attended a city council meeting. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
I didn't realize that.
I've heard she has never attended. So now she gets to attend everyone.
Yeah, I was going to say, way to kick it off. Okay.
Okay, she gets to attend everyone. And city council meetings are not boring. Okay, there's a lot of fire. We have people like Connie Burton speaking their mind. We have Fran Tate. The CRA is there. And there is a lot going on. You know what? Our CEO would like to say a word. Darryl Johnson's on the mic.
Just a question. What does the data tell you about the losses of the two ladies?
Yes, it shows that we have to, well, let me take a step back, actually. So in the March election, we know that folks turned out at about 13.6% in the March election.
Less than 20.
And in this April election, folks turned out at about 10.7%. So pretty significant decrease. But where we saw the most deficit was in East Tampa.
East Tampa did not show up.
And I think part of that is the fact that District 5 didn't have a runoff race, right? Typically you have a runoff race in District 5. Like last time, I believe it was Orlando Goods and Jeffrey Rhodes in the runoff. Yes. And so I think that does have a little bit to do with it. Folks don't have a single district member to vote for because West Tampa actually outperformed than they typically do in the runoff.
And we know why, because they were trying to support Janet Cruz.
And Charlie Miranda was in that race, and Hoyt Pringle was in that race. That was a pretty competitive race as well.
And Guido Maniscalco.
Yes, Guido was running for the citywide seat. That's right, District 2.
So you did have some Hispanic candidates that they were probably trying to support. Yes. Okay.
No, that's right. And I say all that to say, though, we have to figure out a way to keep Black folks, and I don't want to just, I guess, single out Black folks, but I mean, I'm the Black Caucus president, so I'm going to talk about Black people.
Because what's the mission of the caucus?
To engage Black voters here in Hillsborough County.
And to elect Black people,
that's
Black Democrats.
Black Democrats to office.
Okay.
And I just think we missed the buck, unfortunately, in engaging East Tampa for Sonja and Robin, for those two Black candidates running citywide. So I think something we have to take a step back and contemplate and figure out and to strategize is how do we not just get their vote in March, but ensure we're retaining and ensure they're engaged for April as well.
One last question.
Sure.
What is the responsibility of the supervisor of elections?
Supervisor of elections to ensure that the election is happening, most important, fairly. Folks have access to voting, easy access to voting. Voter information that's pertinent to voters. So they're the supervisor of everything dealing with the election.
Is it his responsibility or their responsibility to ensure that the people know that an election is happening?
100%.
Did you think he did that?
I think he could have done better. I know in the March election, I received a postcard from the supervisor of elections. Here's election dates. Here's where you can go to find your polling site. We got to keep that up and often. To your point, we should be always encouraging people to get out and vote frequent and often. So I think that's a role in which the SOE, the supervisor of elections, can step up for sure, especially
during the runoffs.
I'm telling you, and we know it's going to be lower turnout, right? Why aren't we trying to up that?
That is true. That is true. So let's talk about Sonja's race, because that was Democrat versus Democrat. Most of these races were.
Yeah, that's true.
We're about to break, but Sonja was up against Alan Clendenin.
That's right. And Alan ran last time, 2019.
And lost by such a small amount of votes.
To Walter and Joseph Citro.
And Citro won.
That's correct. And what a turn of events.
Because that was an upset, because Citro got thrown out.
First round. I know a lot of folks thought he would make it to the runoff. Me included, if I'm being honest. So to see that, I think that said a lot about folks and how they feel about that councilman.
All right. Well, we'll be back more. We'll be back with some more on the runoffs. It's so juicy. We got to keep going.
So believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown. 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-7425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. Is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
We are back. You are listening to Tampa Bay Politics. I'm your host, Angela Birdsong, and in the house with me is a very lovely lady. She is the president of Democratic Black Caucus and the first vice president of the Democratic Black Caucus of the state of Florida.
Welcome back, y'all.
All right, Jordan Pride. Okay, so the last race we did discuss was Alan Clendenin versus Sonja Brookins. And I do want to say that Alan was the winner, and he has put in so much time and so much energy and so much treasure into the Democratic Party. You know, it was a hard choice, but we were very, very happy about Alan Clendenin.
Yeah, for sure. I think no matter where that race went, was definitely going to be happy in that race. But of course, as a caucus, we did endorse Sonja and was obviously upset to see her loss. Because I definitely feel as though we need more representation on city council, not just a single black district, District 5, that's known as the black seat. We need more representation. That means citywide, that means up and down council.
Yes. But you know, the wonderful thing about it is that every time you have a black candidate in a race, you get more black engagement.
That is true.
Okay, so there were some people who were very, very excited that Sonja was in the race and that Robin was in the race, and that made people pay attention.
Oh, 100%.
A lot more black people were like, hey, they knew that these ladies were running. That it was in the Sentinel. So we want to do anything that promotes engagement, because even if our candidate doesn't win, we want to get people to know, hey, you need to be registered. You need to get your mail-in ballot, and you need to ask for your mail-in ballot every election now, because voter suppression is real.
It only takes one election for someone to vote and feel that empowerment, you know, And I think
Yes.
it's just getting them to the polls in that one election. So if you can do that with a friend, a family member, or whomever, that's a huge step in itself.
And nothing helps engagement like having a black candidate in the race.
Perfect segue. And on that note, I think it's important for us as Black Democrats to support quality candidates that we get, like Robin and like Dr. Sonja, who are very well known in the community. They're very engaged in this community, but we have to ensure that we're putting the force behind them and, most important, the resources behind them to get them over that hump.
So what we want to do is let you know that, number one, the Black Caucus exists.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how it was founded, how people can join?
Yes. So the Black Caucus was Hillsborough County has been around since, I want to say the year is 1956, is it? I think so. Well before my time.
Yes, I didn't even know it went back
you
that
guys
far.
can see. But no, definitely has been around for a while, and it's been in this community doing some good work for a while as well. And most importantly, I think one of the biggest goal that we have as an organization is to ensure that the folks within this community are holding elected officials accountable. So not just us as a caucus, but even our members and the people within this community, knowing they can go to city council and talk to the current members and ensure they know what's top of mind to them. But
every election, you do talk to the candidates.
Oh, 100%. The candidates, 100%. Yes. And in our process, go ahead.
1834.
1830. Oh, wow. 1834.
January 25th, 1834, Hillsborough County.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy. Awesome. Well, I will say that it's been a lot of good presidents that we've had over the course of the last few decades that I've had the pleasure of knowing and getting to meet, one of which has just recently, unfortunately, passed. But overall,
Who was
getting
that?
back to your point, was that?
Who passed away?
The first actually president of the Hillsborough County Black Caucus, and
The dentist.
the dentist, yes.
And I forgot his name. But
It's only
anyway,
because we're thinking about it.
but
yes.
yeah, well, it's not that many black dentists, and his office was on Martin Luther King for many, many years.
And let me tell you, his impact showed at his homegoing.
Okay.
Completely.
Dennis
Dr.
Miles.
Bruce Miles.
Bruce
Thank
Miles.
you.
Bruce
Thank
Miles.
you.
There
Dr.
it is.
Bruce Miles. And you could tell the impact he had in the community just from the amount of folks that showed up to his homegoing service and the folks that spoke on, his behalf and what he did. You can tell he had a huge, huge stake
You
in
know
this
who was
community.
another great president? Diane Hart.
Oh, yes. Diane. Oh, Brett.
And you know what? I heard that she'd have like 300 people at the dinner.
That's right. Rep. She's doing some incredible things in the legislature. She's talking about things that a lot of legislators just kind of chuck up to not being important to Florida and Florida voters and constituents of Florida, like our prison system. A lot
Yes,
of
she visits
issues
a lot
in
of
dealing
prisons.
with our prison system.
And how they're being treated.
That's correct. And at the end of the day, as a representative, I think she understands that you're a vigilante. You have to find these issues that folks aren't talking about and find these corners and pockets of issues and people that are looking for help and lending that assistance. And I think she's doing that very well. Very well.
Well, I'm sure you want people to know how they can sign up.
Yes.
And the things they can be involved in if they join the caucus.
Yes, thank you. Definitely take advantage of any pitch I am given. So if you want to become a member of Hillsborough County Democratic Black Caucus, you can become a member today. Go to hcdbc.org, and that's where you can find our sign up, our application, to sign up and pay to become a member.
So
And the
it's $60.
fees, $60 if you're an adult. If you're a senior or a student, it's $30. And once again, I definitely want to say that if you have any issues in making that payment and you still want to be involved, please reach out. Please contact us and we'll figure it out 100%. We don't want to scurry anyone away from the caucus if it has to boil down to money.
And right now we really want to ramp
Telling
up
you.
that as many people as we can get involved, because we're running into a presidential election now.
We need them. We need them. And right now we're gearing up on the state level for our state convention as well.
When is that happening?
That's happening next month. I think it's a weekend.
Of the 19th, isn't it?
The 19th,
I already,
yep.
I got my reservation in there.
That's right. And we're back in Orlando at the Rosen Center. And the goal for this particular conference is to ensure that our 28 chapters are prepared for this presidential election.
28 chapters.
Almost
across
29.
Almost 29.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who's going to be 29?
Well, it's still in the books, but it's not official yet. They have to get enough members, so that's the biggest piece. To start off as a new chapter, you have to have enough members.
10.
That's correct. 10 members. They have their board together, but they're still outsourcing the members. But super proud to say that we did most recently start a chapter over in Palm Coast, which Flagler County, many of you all know, is a pretty red county, but there are black folks over there, and there's Democrats over there, and they're looking to engage.
Old part of Florida.
So we're really excited,
Yes,
and they have some friends from St. John's coming down to their meetings actually. So we're moving that needle over there on the East Coast. Mm-hmm.
But every vote matters in the
everyone.
presidential election. So we and on this and of course the statewide elections.
100%.
So we want to get as many people engaged. So if you're here in Hillsborough County, you're in one of the most important counties in the state of Florida. And so I know that Jordan wants to invite you to the meetings. When's the next one?
Actually, it's the second Thursday of every month. You can attend our meetings. They're at 6 o'clock, typically at the DEC, Hillsborough County DEC. So that's the Democratic Party for Hillsborough County, over on 56th Street.
Just off of Fletcher.
That's right. And if you sign up, once again, become a member, give us your information, you'll receive these emails and all the information around meetings as well.
Now, I'm hoping that if you have a D on your registration card and you're a registered licensed Democrat, that you will show up to the meetings.
That's right.
And you can do them by Zoom. And we also need you to show up for the Democratic Party meetings of Hillsborough County.
Yes.
We just don't have enough black folks showing up for the representation that we have in the county.
We're the party. We are the party, y'all.
Black people are the heart and the soul of the Democratic Party.
That's right.
We love you. We want to see you. And, if you're there, you can ask for what you want.
That's right.
You are the party. So it's not, what is the party going to do for me? What are you going to do for the party? Right. Because it is you.
Mm-hmm. And I want to remind folks that last year in our midterm, Hillsborough County went red. And
you know why that is? Because the Democrats didn't show up.
Democrats did not show up. So, and our county commission got taken over, flipped, back red. We took a lot of hard L's in Hillsborough County and honestly across the state.
Yes.
Miami-Dade went red for the first time in I don't know how long.
And it was all because of one man.
I'm telling you. So I think we're starting to see.
Satan. I'm sorry, DeSantis.
You got it right the first time. But no, I think we're starting to see, I think at least folks are starting to see, unfortunately, the results of electing him again, right? We're seeing more voter suppression.
He's loose.
On the state level. We see him trying to put more restraints on women's rights, on our body autonomy.
Forced birth.
I'm telling you, African Americans and us having the ability to teach our history and individuals to know our history, and it is Americans' history.
See what CRT is just another way of saying we don't want to teach about black people.
And I think folks, they talk about the CRT all the time, but folks got to understand too, this now limits people. So students, let me take it to the collegiate level and on the higher education level, you now cannot receive a degree in those particular studies. So Africana studies.
Well, he says it has no redeeming value.
And that should say a lot to us, right? As black folks, if you see what we've done for this country, brought this country to where it is today, and you see no value in teaching that history.
Yeah, we know what we know. I mean, you know what? It's going backwards.
It is.
This is nothing new. We know these people's agenda ever since the civil rights movement. You know, what Malcolm had to deal with, Martin had to deal with. Here we are back again.
I'm telling you, back in a big circle. And I think the biggest thing that folks have to understand is permitless carry coming in a few months. It's going to be like the Wild Wild West here in Florida. Like, it's so much. And I think what people have to understand is that he does not care about Florida. He doesn't care about Floridians.
And, you know, if you put permitless carry together with stand your ground, so now you just got license to shoot black people.
He cares about winning the Republican nomination for president. That's all he cares about right now. He, you know, keeps dismissing it in interviews when he's asked if he's running. So tell me, why were you in Iowa when South Florida was underwater last week, right?
And Japan.
Japan. I mean, so much can be said, but I think the most important thing for us to understand as Floridians and here in Hillsborough is that we have a huge duty next year in this presidential election to ensure that we don't Ron DeSantis the United States.
Absolutely. So you know what? We need to reclaim Florida.
That's right.
And we have enough black votes to do that.
100%.
So if you're going to join the Hillsborough County Black Caucus, what do you think what are some of the things they would be doing?
Yeah, so if you join, like I said, we do have regular meetings. Like for this past election, for the city council election, at our last meeting, we hosted a phone bank where we called black voters here in Hillsborough County to hopefully engage them for the upcoming election. So you will be engaged, whether that's in our fundraising efforts and in events that we host, or whether it's voter contact and reaching out to voters here locally. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And, you know, we do have something called precinct captains. Can you
right.
tell them about that and why we need more black people to step up?
Yeah, so the Democratic Party does this extremely well, has trainings for it and such, but we have precinct captains. And what a precinct captain is kind of the leader for the individual polling precinct that you live in. So you're the recruiter for your precinct is how I like to see it. And you're kind of the information ambassador as well for your precinct. And why it's important to have more black folks as precinct captains is because a lot of these precincts make up of are us, right? And if we want to engage more black people, I'm just a huge person and a huge believer of, you know, there's nothing like a black voter talking to another black voter about why
Absolutely.
our vote is important.
They feel comfortable.
It's a connection.
They can ask you questions and they feel like you give them the lowdown.
That's right.
You know, so it's so important for us to engage our voters.
Mm-hmm. We're breaking that good music.
Is this the end? No, we're coming back. We got one more. We got one more 15-minute segment, so don't go anywhere. I'm Angela Birdsong, and during the week, they call me the Medicare lady. I help people successfully transition onto Medicare, sometimes Medicaid. I also help people with life insurance, long-term care insurance, and annuities. Please do not try to navigate Medicare without me. It's complicated. 813-476-4837.
Jazz at Miss Connie's house is brought to you by Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rhodes at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home, for the finest care and quality service.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/hereforyou.
We are back with Tampa Bay Politics. And our guest is a very special guest today because she is the president of the Hillsborough County Democratic Black Caucus and the first vice president on the state level.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Okay. Her name is Jordan Pride. Jordan, if they want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can visit our website, hcdbc.org. You'll find my information, also find some contact information to reach out to our caucus.
And you know what? If they are not a caucus member, can they still come to the state convention?
So technically there are some public events that's being hosted at convention. However, most of the events are geared towards our registrants and people who are paying for the conference. But I will say locally here on the local level, you do not have to be a member to attend our meetings or attend most of our events. So definitely come check us out, see what we're about.
We do like you to be the Democrat, though.
There is that.
There is that. You know, because a lot of people say to me, Angela, you don't put Republicans on the air. But you know what? There's these Republican talking points that I just want you to know out there that I have to stay away from. The Fox News thing. You know, some of the things that Tucker Carlson had to say on there, you know, the Russians really loved.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. You got to be careful.
We got to be careful. Now, you know, one of the reasons that the mission of the Democratic Black Caucus is to get black Democrats elected is because they tend to focus on issues that affect black people.
Surprise!
Things like imprisonment. And we want to help people get their rights back. What are some things that you know, the caucus really focuses on?
Yeah, so we had the pleasure of working not directly with Desmond Meade's particular organization, but some efforts around that with Equal Ground.
And he's for getting people's rights restored.
Restoration of rights.
Florida
for
Restoration of
Citizens.
Yes, Florida Restoration of Rights. You can type that in the Google machine.
Yeah, and I believe his organization is Florida Restoration Rights Coalition is the name. FLRRC is the organization that he has. But yeah, so we want to ensure that folks here in the state of Florida, let me take a step back and say that there is literally no reason why when an individual has served their debt to society, done their due time, paid their fines, paid their fees, that they should not be placed back into this society as a human being, and a human being with their rights. Most importantly, their voting rights. And I think that's so important because we know that when you vote, and when you vote for these individuals, they have a stake in just about every part of your life, right? And I just think it is so unfair to have folks paying taxes, giving towards the economy, but not being able to exercise their right to vote. So I think that's a huge issue. And if I'm being honest with you, it's just another tool of voter suppression, because we know what our prison system is made up of. And it's not because black folks or brown folks commit more crimes. It's because of pure racism and the systemic problem that we have within our system as well. So with that being said, they know by putting these limitations on returning citizens whose votes they're suppressing.
Yes, they know. They know. And, you know, when you go around and arrest 20 people, okay, for because they voted, we know that that's a form of intimidation.
100%. And I recall this was a huge issue and hump for us to get over. Even last year during the midterm election, was folks not knowing for sure if they're able to vote. They're like, well, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and I don't want to run the risk.
They don't want to take a chance, and that is there's voter suppression.
Voter intimidation. Intimidation.
So if you weren't charged with murder, I mean, there's a couple of categories that cannot be helped.
Exception.
There's no exception for. But if you don't know what your fines are, there's a lady named Connie Burton you can get hold of. She's our local representative for the Florida Restoration of Rights Coalition. Type in Desmond Meade in the Google browser.
Right.
But those are the people who have made it their mission and their passion to get more people to have their rights restored.
100%. And I just think, we're seeing so many tools of it, like you said, Angela, on the state level. If it's, them going after people who voted in a previous election, or the election police that they want at the polls, or reducing the amount of drop boxes that are in minority communities, the list goes on as far as the tools of voter suppression that this governor is currently invoking on Floridians.
Well, the reason they're doing it is because they know if black folks ever voted in mass and got together, we could rule the state.
I'm telling you. And back actually to Daryl's point earlier about engaging more people and ensuring that we're engaging as many voters as possible through the supervisor elections and through these organizations. They know when we don't turn around, they know who wins.
Yes,
right?
if black folks do not turn out, they know who wins.
So at the end of the day, I guess from their standpoint, right, and you have a governor that's drawing district lines, abolishing congressional districts.
Gerrymandering.
You have to ask yourself sometimes, do they even want all folks to get out and vote? Do they want high turnout? Do they want as many votes as possible in these elections? No.
No, they
because
don't.
The lower the turnout, the better for establishment.
And
typically.
For some reason, Republicans always find a way to vote.
It's 100%, right? So
all these things don't seem to hurt them.
No, they don't have these types of barriers within their communities, right? Hearing from folks that there weren't parking spots in some of their new polling places. Over in Pinellas County, one of my friends actually thought her polling place was closed because it looked vacant. I mean, they didn't have the typical vote signs out. There are so many small ways and avenues that they use to discourage or just make it difficult for people to vote, to hopefully ensure that the folks that they want to get elected are successful.
So if you are hearing Jordan's voice today, you need to get hold of her. You need to try to show up to a meeting.
Yes.
Every little thing helps.
That's right.
You could do a phone bank from your home.
That's right.
You might consider being a precinct captain. There's
That's right.
many things you can do. And if you know someone who's not in your county, you might encourage them to go to their local county meeting.
Because no one's coming to save us, Angela. I'm going to just reiterate that. No one is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves.
And it starts with your involvement. If you hear this show, share it to people and say,
Right.
you know what, I'm going to see you at that Black Caucus meeting.
I love that. Yes, bring a friend, bring a family member. We need everyone because there is power in numbers.
There is. And you say, oh, well, I'm just one person. Well, you know people. The average person knows 300 people on Facebook.
Right. I mean, yesterday's election was at District 6. Hoyt Prindle and Charlie Miranda came down to less than 200 votes, less than 150 votes.
Yes.
So every vote counts.
Orlando Goods lost by 75 votes.
I'm telling you, every vote counts, you all. And if you just think about the fact that if you have that mindset, how many other people will say only my vote counts, right? You have to have the mindset that my vote is going to make the difference. And if everyone in this county had that mindset, I'm telling you, we could do wonders.
If we had black people have that mindset. We really, really want to see you at the Hillsborough County Democratic meetings. They're the third Monday of every month. You can go to Hillsborough County Democrats, type it in the Google machine.
Yep.
They are findable.
They are hillsdems.org, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yep. I think it's HillsboroughCountyDems.org. I think that's what it is. But your supervisor of elections is easily findable.
VoteHillsborough.org. I know that one. For
Okay. And the supervisor election is there to make sure that you can vote, you know how to vote, you know when to vote. And they're so helpful if you call them on the phone. They really want to be of assistance. So you should be contacting now to get your vote by mail
My
ballot.
last question.
Darryl Johnson, everybody.
Hindsight is always 20/20. What would we do different for a Robin Lockett type race?
Moving into the next election. And I will just say I was at her election night watch party and she said she's just getting started, y'all. So hopefully we'll see Robin again. But earlier I mentioned, when we have quality candidates that we're actually showing them real support, not just showing up to their events, giving money to their campaign, because if they're going to get out their message, they have to have the money and the resources to do so. So I think what we have to do to ensure that a Robin gets on a board or gets elected to office is that we have to continue to engage the folks that are not typically engaged in these elections. And most importantly, we have to do everything we can to support these individuals running for office.
Give money.
Whether that's phone banking.
She said that. Give
giving
money.
So
Yeah.
let's just assume that she was bankrolled
Okay.
to the tune of her opponent.
Gotcha.
Would that have made a difference?
I think it would have, especially with the spread compared to the first March election. I think she ended at 38%, if I'm not mistaken, in this race in April.
Well, what happened was Sonja and Robin were in the 20% area. Okay,
I got it pulled up right here. So Robin had 38.05%.
Okay.
Sonja had 35.4%.
Oh, I
so
thought they
they're
were
pretty
20%.
close.
Okay, okay.
Yep. No, they came out, actually stretched it for sure, especially be it that other candidates weren't in that race again, right? There was more opportunity to gain more votes with the other folks being knocked out of the race.
That's an important point you bring up. The more people in the race, the harder it is.
That's right.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have a runoff.
That's right.
And the last time, I think in District 5, there were like 5 people. It was a lot
huge.
of people.
It was huge, and I think to that point, getting organized and being strategic.
I'm sorry, that was with Gwen Myers. She had like 5 appointments.
Even last time on District 1, Walter Smith, that race, it was about 5 or 6 of them in that race. Yeah.
Okay.
And to your point, though, Angela and Daryl, to get back to your question, I think we have to be strategic as well as Black folks. And when we have a good quality candidate, do everything to push them over that finish line.
Yes, yes, because we're talking about a pretty small number of votes.
That's right. That's right.
200, 300,
we can overcome.
We can overcome. I mean, really, if East Tampa had turned out, I think we could have had a different outcome.
I think so.
All right, it's the end of the show. Thank you, Jordan, for coming.
Thank you for
having me. It was a last-minute invitation, and she showed up.
So much fun.
And showed out. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Tampa.